It's Halloween Fest.
Halloween Fest. Welcome to the Yo Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
It's the Halloween episode of Halloween Fest.
Yeah, it pretty much this has become a staple of the Halloween Fest annually, which is that we pick out a Halloween movie, something from the franchise, to discuss. We've done, I know we did, what's interesting? I had previously said, I think on the podcast, that we had done an episode on all three of the David Gordon Green films.
Yeah,
We didn't technically do the 2018 film as a standalone episode, but for those of you that have not seen it yet, go into our horror playlist on the Oh Brother YouTube channel, and you'll see that there's a Halloween film franchise episode that we did covering from 78 all the way up
I was
until
gonna say, I'm pretty sure we
2018.
talked about it because I remember
We
the
did. Yeah.
the the uh, Donald Pleasance lookalike was like, "Whoa, that blew me
Yes.
away."
Yeah, so we did talk about it, but, so anyways, and we've done others, but and we were even for this episode, we were milling about, which one should we do? And it was really a back and forth about, okay, do we do Halloween 6
Right.
as a standalone episode because it's just past what, the 20th anniversary, I
Yeah, I
believe,
know
right?
it's the only anniversary year, Halloween.
Yeah, technically that's true. So we went back and forth, but then as you know, have since the beginning of this podcast's inception been lobbying as an advocate for Rob Zombie's Halloween films. And for this episode, Mike, we're talking a specifically very controversial episode here on the Over
Yeah,
Brother podcast, which is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
right, and I have the theatrical cut here.
Yeah, now this is a Canadian version that was
Okay,
released.
you have it as well.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because this this tin, steel book that I have of it, which I think you have this
Which
one too, don't
I
you?
have right here, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this has the Mike, and you didn't know this until just now.
Mhm.
This does have the unrated director's cut of Halloween 2,
Oh, okay.
which is what I ended up watching. Now, and that is, believe it or not, that is actually how most people obtained the film on home video.
Correct.
So if you didn't see, like I did, Halloween theatrical version when it came out in the theater in 2009,
You
it was
only
hard to
saw
come
the
across.
unrated. Yeah,
That's right.
and
That's right.
oh, I have the disc out. I think let me see if
You know
it's in the other
oh,
one.
I have the
Oh,
disc in.
see,
Yeah,
the funny thing is I
there you
thought
go.
it was like a Blockbuster video because of the colors, but it's
Yeah, so
not.
you're
Yeah,
mixing
there
and
it
match.
is.
You've got some hijacked or some bootleg case there I just saw because clearly it only accepts the one disc, but I saw yours was
Yeah,
holding two
I
discs.
change it with a double disc.
For those watching or listening and not watching, we're holding up a couple of the iterations of the films, and it just so happens the two that I have are both double features. Has
Now
Halloween
you
one.
only watched the unrated, so you didn't watch the director's I mean, yeah, you didn't watch the theatrical for this.
I didn't, but I think for the purposes of this discussion, it's more relevant to watch the unrated cut.
Definitely.
And now, when I went back and rewatched, believe it or not, the episode we did on the whole Halloween film franchise,
Mhm.
and you were saying towards the end of that episode, I think, I believe, and I don't know if it was an error, but you were saying, really, if you're going to watch it, the way to do it is, well, let me just say this. I think you say theatrical cut of the first zombie film, unrated director's cut of the sequel,
The
correct?
other way around.
See, and I disagree with that. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what you said in that sequel, because I think a lot of the controversy surrounding Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and I should say before we get into some of the reasons it's controversial among the fan base, there are certainly other uh, episodes that have been done on YouTube and other podcasts and things, also supporting in favor of this film. So it's not just like a bash fest on this
The
film, but predominantly
or the one.
it has been. What's that?
You talked about them bashing what, the theatrical or the unrated or both?
Well, I think the theatrical probably. Although, as to your point, or as I said earlier, that's how most people would have seen this, is the unrated
Yeah.
director's cut, right? So it kind of surprises me then that there would continue to be so much vitriol about the
Well, I
sequel.
think as we get into it, I
Mhm.
think I have some reasoning
Yeah.
behind why I think the director's cut is better, but I mean, is worse, the
Mhm.
unrated cut. It's not called a director's cut. It's
Correct.
called an
Yeah.
unrated.
Mm,
And
yeah.
Zombie does a commentary, which is kind of shocking.
Yes.
So we should start out with Zombie was not gonna do part 2. He did 1. He's
He was regretting that he did part 1, quite frankly.
absolutely. And he specifically killed Michael Myers, which was, against Mustafa Akkad's, do I have that right? Mustafa
Mustafa
Akkad.
Akkad. Yeah.
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 He had a rule that you can't kill Michael Myers.
Mhm.
And the son, Malik, I believe his name is, said to Zombie, "Do whatever you want." And Zombie specifically kills Michael at the end of this film. It's not a spoiler alert. This film, you've either seen it or you haven't.
Well, and we should say another reason we landed on it because as you mentioned, it's not an anniversary year, but we did just pass the 15th year
15th.
anniversary because this came out August 28th, 2009.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just missed it by a year. But um, did you listen to the commentary by any chance?
I did.
So how many times did you hear the word miserable, terrible?
Okay, so let's hear from Rob Zombie himself
Oh, good.
as a brief clip of Rob on Howie Mandel's podcast, How He Does Things.
This must be a while ago, I'm guessing.
It's not all that long ago, no.
Really? Wow.
No.
Okay. I'm looking forward to this.
One of the best ideas he came up with one time, I was on set shooting because he would call me the whole time I'm shooting, all night long, constantly. He'd be like, "I think Michael Myers should have a necklace of severed ears." And meanwhile, I go, well, besides the fact that I hate that idea, we're so deep into shooting. How do we get that continuity? This is dumb on every possible level.
Where does he get them?
Yeah, where does he get them? How does he have them? Why doesn't he have them this thing? But he doesn't? And that's when I start going like, I'm not sure they know how movies are made.
Now, if you missed it,
and the they're talking about are the Weinstein brothers.
correct, because it almost got cut off at the beginning. He said Harvey Weinstein called me, and
No, no. He's actually talking about Bob Weinstein.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I know
Right.
both of them were
But
driving him crazy.
But Bob primarily. He doesn't have anything good to say about Bob Weinstein in that interview. You could see all that, you can go on YouTube and see that Howie Mandel
And he
interview.
doesn't say it by
Very good.
he doesn't use his name, but in the commentary, it's pretty obvious. He's constantly talking about how they keep cutting the shooting days. Like they literally cut 2 weeks off
Yeah.
of the shooting schedule, which is a nightmare for a filmmaker.
Right, and I think that's the thing. It was riddled with so many issues. They had to go back and do so many reshoots.
Yeah.
So it was kind of doomed from the start. But as Rob says, he felt as though enough time had passed. He was hoping it kind of healed everything, and then he was right back into the craziness again.
Well, the story goes is from him is, he had first refusal and he refused. So they hire another director, right? And the story was going to be that Laurie was the daughter of Sheriff Brackett. And Zombie got wind of that and is like, no, if they're going to use my characters in my story, then I'm going to direct it. And he started to think, where he could go. But I think as you watched, especially the unrated cut, I think there's so many. I think this is a film directed in anger,
Mhm.
and you see it on the screen. He does
Mhm.
everything to anger the Weinsteins, like there's a sequence where there's a
Yeah.
stripper and she's totally nude, and
Well,
he
it
was
was
told,
right. Don't,
"Don't,
you know,
make sure she has a bikini on, blah, blah, blah."
correct.
So he
Go
instantly shoots it.
go watch the interview with him and Howie Mandel, because he
Yeah,
talks all about that. And the worst thing they could have done was give the guy notes and all of this sort of stuff.
right,
Because he said, a lot of what these Hollywood types will do, these producers will do, is they'll try to get you by the whats with money, because they know you're desperate and you need that money to make the rent in some cases, right? But in
right.
Rob's case, he didn't need the money. He had more
No.
money than he knew what to do with, so they couldn't threaten him with that. And so he really didn't care. He would get notes from one of their assistants visiting him on set, and he would just throw them right in the trash
Yeah.
and just ignore
And
it.
and Zombie is an absolute, uh, great director, great
Mhm.
musician. He's good at everything he does.
He is.
So for him to be nitpicked by producers was
Right.
infuriating, and it
Well,
comes out in
and
the
you
in
heard
the
him in the clip,
commentary.
right?
In that
I'm
clip,
not
absolutely.
I don't think these guys know how to make movies or what it takes.
Right,
So clearly, like, let the professionals do their job, is
right.
is the bottom line there. But
And Dan, doesn't this reflect the state of what we've been talking about right now? The
mhm,
creatives aren't creating their products. There's so much
right,
interference from
mhm,
above that
right.
we're getting flop after flop. The smashing flop is the latest one.
And okay, elaborate, because people don't know what you're talking
That's
about.
the Rock's new movie, The Smashing Machine, flopped over the weekend. Was supposed to
Right.
be this great, brilliant film.
Okay,
No,
I have seen out on social media people posting, like, refuting that statement or that position by saying, well, it's not fair to say because Taylor Swift swoops in and it's like, what do you think about that argument?
I don't buy it for a second. I've seen it, so I don't buy it for a second. It's
Oh,
not that
you've
good,
seen
and
the
it
Smash
didn't.
Machine,
Yeah,
not Taylor Swift's new
no,
album.
I
Okay.
haven't seen Taylor Swift's, but it didn't even come in second place. One
Mhm.
battle after another that didn't do good the week before, which is a really good film, beat it. So it
Yeah,
came in third.
it's
And again, I
upside
don't know
down.
how many screens it was on, blah, 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 but
Yeah, all of it, right.
and we
But
don't,
again, we're
box
not here
office
to what
isn't the
yeah, we're not here to talk about
right.
all of that. We're here to talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween. But I think some of what you're talking about is what ends up plaguing this sequel and kind of casts it in this negative light for a lot of people. When, for me, and I said this on the film franchise episode we did, I was championing it then, and I still do to this day. And rewatching it again, which I tend to do every year, is I have even more appreciation for it. Now, I'm not going to say, I didn't say then, I'm not going to say now, it's not a perfect film. Rob wouldn't say that because of, again, all the hurdles he had to overcome and all the challenges he was faced with. But I think what he did, or at least what he attempted to do with the story, with the characters, the evolution of the characters in this film, namely Lori, first and foremost, right? Her arc throughout, if you think of where we see her in one
Right.
and where she ends up, for those who haven't seen the sequel, it picks up exactly where the first one left off.
Yeah, I have issues with what he did with all the characters, first off.
Hmm.
I was excited to watch this. I liked the first zombie film. I think he was the right guy, the right time,
Yeah, I think
wrong
most people do.
producers.
Yeah,
He already, Night of a Thousand Corpses. He's like a gore guy and good at it.
a gore guy.
But Halloween 1 kind of was inspired by Carpenter's film.
Oh, totally.
Halloween 2 by Zombie is way out in left field for me. And I told you, like, I think the theatrical cut is better for some reasons,
Now,
but
why do you say it's way out in left field? Because I really don't think it is. If you think about it, Mike, so much of this is about Laurie Strode's decline, right? And what you find out, one of the minor details, if you compare the theatrical to the unrated, is the fact that he he sets the film 2 years later
instead of 1 year.
instead
Right.
of 1 year, right?
Right.
Which is a bit more believable in terms of what you're being presented with on screen and what the characters are going with, their state of mind at this particular point. But Laurie's decline, her mental decline, and here these characters are. What would it be like if you had gone through a trauma such as they did? Where would you be 2 years later? And I think there's a pretty good representation of that. Again, namely with Laurie, Annie, even Sheriff Brackett, and even Loomis. And as much as I don't love what he did with Dr. Loomis in this,
No.
I understand what he was going for.
I do
I
too.
get it.
I understand hearing it from Zombie why he
Mhm,
did these things, but for me, they don't work.
mhm.
Laurie becomes spiteful against the Brackets, Annie and her dad, and winds up getting a new set of friends.
Right.
And she's so bitter to the people that really love her. It just that part of it didn't fit. Absolutely. The PTSD stuff, I'm all down with that. And Scout and all the actors, I have no issues with
Great
any of the
performances.
acting.
Yeah.
However, the characters are all turned on their head. And Dan, you got to start with the fact that he killed Michael. And he says to this day, there's no supernatural, blah, 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 blah. He doesn't tell us
No.
how he
Well,
survived a shotgun to the face.
okay, now Rob Zombie doesn't say that, first of all. He doesn't claim that. Nobody's made that claim, but you're making your own point or arguing it against yourself because we wouldn't even be sitting here talking about these movies as fans if we weren't willing to suspend that bit of disbelief about this character from the very first film.
I
Come on.
agree,
It's
but
ridiculous from the very first film.
but
In
he
fact, I would
says
argue the reality, the realism is even better in Zombies
how does
because
he
of
survive? How does he
no,
survive without some
I'm
supernatural? They
okay,
explain
maybe
it everywhere else.
yeah, but that's the thing. I think Rob is asking you to okay, just look beyond that and let's move forward from there. But
But
yeah,
he's asking you to do
how
it
has he
without
survived in every other film?
because they always have some fluky, they begin the movie with some fluky thing, him
Okay,
crawling
go back
away.
to our H2O episode
Yeah,
and where we talk about how they ended that and where they
it's like,
pick up.
how are they gonna bring him back from Halloween ends,
Right, but
right?
that's
There's
it.
no way back.
Okay, Jason, Friday 13th, Freddy, all of these things. You just got to get past that
Yeah, but
point of it.
my problem is Zombie doesn't address it. He doesn't address it. He picks up with Laurie walking down the street, which is how the first one
Nobody
ends.
addressed they haven't addressed it in all of the
Oh, they
films.
did. Like,
No, he wouldn't
there's
be
one
back.
where
It would have been Halloween 1978 and we're one and done.
no, they
Yes.
all have addressed it.
Loomis shot him. I shot him 6 times.
Right, and he
Pretty good
survived, but then
Loomis,
we
by the
find
way.
out there's this supernatural element. Think of the one where the cave-in, all the stupid truck drivers, I think it's
Okay.
6, right?
So we've come to
And then
believe
we
that it's a
see him
supernatural
crawl out
element.
at the beginning of the film. See,
Yeah.
Zombie doesn't address it. He just ignores it, and we're
But he
supposed to suspend belief without
right.
giving any
But
reason
I
to
but
suspend
I
belief.
but I think what he's saying is, okay, there's sort of this unwritten contract between you, the audience, and fans of this franchise, and me, the director of this film, which is we're just going to understand that that's a piece of this, and we're going to move on. That's it.
Well, it
You can't get hung up on that, or else there's no way
well,
forward. There's no
I
way
do.
forward.
Like, that bothers me. I'm not saying it,
Well, let me ask you this: what would be a reasonable, justifiable
well, he
way to
says
bring him back, or
in
to
the
explain him?
commentary,
Yeah.
he says that perhaps Laurie in her suffering may
Yes.
have imagined she shot him in the face, but misfired. Show me
Okay.
that sequence, and I'm fine with it.
Well, here's somebody saying where. Okay, so all right,
You
so that
can't
is
count on
not
people that are to listen to the audio commentaries like we do.
No, but we have often talked on the podcast about let me, the viewer, use my imagination and fill those blanks in. So I get it. This may not be the best example of that, but I'm just trying to
No.
say, like, let's not hate on that one point, because if we get stuck there, we really can't move
No,
forward and talk about this film.
and I got past that. I definitely
Okay,
got
so
past that.
let us get
But
past that then. Yeah.
it's all the other issues, like the way this film ends. How are we even talking about Halloween 3 by Zombie? That's been rumored. Like people have talked about
The same way we talk about Resurrection and every other sequel
yeah,
since
but
the first
every
one. Again,
character gets wasted. I mean,
so
not
what?
just
Oh, right. No, I hear you. Yeah, with
that I'm
Loomis and right.
right. They all like nobody
Well,
survives this movie.
listen, for those of a certain age, Dallas, okay, maybe it was all a dream, or Bob Newhart, maybe it was,
Well,
it's all a
look at
dream.
2018. Okay,
Yeah,
that's one I like. And what
sure.
did they do? They said ignore everything after
Well,
Halloween 1. Just
Well, there's
ignore
the
it.
worst example. Halloween Ends, right? We both say, okay, you put the guy in a meat grinder. Like, come
Right.
on.
He can't come back
We're
from that.
done. We're
Right.
done. But you and I both equally want another Halloween film.
I agree. I totally
So
agree with that.
but what you might argue is, okay, but you know what? Let's start from scratch. Let's do an origin story and go from beginning to end. Because one thing I want to see is I want them to bring Danielle Harris back as Jamie and fix that whole nightmare that they created.
They
Like,
had the shot.
I don't know anybody that knows the story of Halloween 6 better than Mike Smith of the Oh Brother podcast, where we will do an episode on 6, probably next Halloween Fest. But
Yeah.
I really would love to get her back in that role specifically. Of course, we have her back in this as Annie from Zombie's first film, but
Right.
and you said he turns the characters on their head. That's what I like about it, because they should be, given what they've gone through. And Annie in this case, right? She's this young high schooler in the first one, as they all are, these kind of carefree, sort of bad girls, sort of thing, right? Smoking in the bathroom, sort of characters. And in this one, she becomes sort of the caretaker, and she's trying to deal with her dad's crap, and she's trying to put up with Laurie's attitude and all this. She's kind of like the mother figure in this film, which is different.
She is. I totally agree with that. Her character is probably the most grounded in the film. But
Yeah.
Loomis, come on. We know Dr. Loomis from 6 films and more, because they brought him back in 2018 as a doppelganger.
Yeah.
But
Well, he's a super
this
douche in this
Loomis
film.
isn't the same Loomis.
He's a super douche. And again, that's the point, right? It's 2 years on. He has gotten all caught up in the celebrity of this
Right.
this story, right?
He's Dr. Phil.
Which is believable, though. It is believable.
Yeah, but it's such a contrast to Loomis sitting with Michael, to just being about the nice hotel and the limousines and
But
the,
it's 2 years on. It's a lot to happen in 2 years, right?
Yeah,
And I'm
but
sure if we sat and thought about it, sure, some of the listeners could point out some examples of that in real life. People who have gone from,
but then at the end, he drops it all and says, "No, let me talk to him. I can talk some sense into this maniac."
well, because he
You know what I mean?
recognizes, but he recognizes that Michael has come to kind of view him almost as this surrogate figure, this surrogate father, as he says, right? And again,
Yeah.
that's kind of believable, given you have to think about the relationship that Zombie sets up in the first film, right? All of those days and hours spent interviewing young Michael, and all the way up to his adulthood, right? So nobody knows him better than him.
No, but
So
then to,
I kind of buy that.
be the profiteer and be more about forget Michael. He's all about the book sales.
He
and
is.
how nice is my hotel? And there's
Yeah.
that great shot of him complaining to his assistant, right?
Yeah.
Just giving her hell for how bad it is. Oh, good night, everybody. Thank you.
That's
He walks
fantastic.
up. That's a
They're
great
in the
scene.
that's when he's coming off the talk show with Chris Hardwick.
That's right, Chris Hardwick. Yeah,
And Weird Al, which is
that's right.
a great
Right.
sequence. So we've got Scout Taylor Compton, who I showed here as Laurie Strode, of course.
The
Again,
only other person to play Laurie Strode, which people might be surprised by that. There's always
that's
been a
right.
Laurie Strode-ish character.
Strode-ish, yeah,
Yeah, but
Laurie
never somebody playing
adjacent.
her.
Now, Tyler Mane, who of course portrays Michael Myers in both of the films, the guy is massive, and his stature and physical abilities is, as I've said on the podcast before when talking about this film, is something that again brings a real sense of realism to it, because the brutality, you can believe
Oh,
a
absolutely.
guy of his stature could inflict this kind of brutality on these characters. In fact, speaking of Annie, there's this great sequence in the film. Here, let me pull this shot back up. This is a great, one of the best scenes in the film, where Michael attacks Annie in the house, and there's this scene in the and Zombie does this awesome thing where, as this really violent scene is playing out, he there's this audio playing of like a skipping record sound, this kind of hissing of a, for those that know a vinyl, when it ends and it just kind of scratches and kind of skips,
Right.
and it just adds to the tension. He kind of stripped out all the audio going on, and I think it heightens the tension here. But this was, I mean, her death in this film was one of the most brutal things that
Well, I thought
you'll
she
ever
was dead
see.
in the first one. I was shocked to see her in this one because she's
Yeah,
left in the first one. You don't know. They
right.
kind of leave
It's
it
true.
ambiguous.
Yeah.
But yeah, she gets brutalized even worse.
She really does.
If that's possible.
And to give you an idea, I mean, what is he? He's about 6'9", I think, Tyler Mane.
And honestly, like, that's how he looked in the movie because he wasn't wearing the mask in the unrated cut.
Okay, so Mike talking about, again, another very controversial bit here, which is, as some people have come to refer to him as, Hobo Michael, where we see him traversing the landscape at various times, right? But, and here's another sequence of that just prior to Annie getting attacked in the bathroom. And you see this great shot. She closes the vanity mirror in the bathroom, and there you see Michael in the mirror reflected. And he's, now in this case, he still has like half the mask on. It's been kind of ripped apart by, some people that were trying to not be killed by him in previous scenes. But
Right.
yeah, that was a little tough. It's been a little easier for me to accept that, unmasked Michael. And Mike, I'm surprised you haven't shown your shirt by now, by the way. You can't tell, but Mike, can you give us a little bit more? Because you're missing the best part.
I didn't want to make
Okay, for those listening and not watching, Mike is sporting. But below that, what's below, there it is.
Yeah.
It's the Mike, or Mikey in this case, logo. Mike sported a new Halloween shirt. The unmasking of him, it was definitely shocking when I first saw the film. I remember it was like, whoa. But, you sort of, again, I think you get past that at a certain point, and
honestly,
you
Dan,
can believe that he would do that, I guess.
I forgot the unrated, like, I forgot the whole unrated ending.
Oh, yeah.
I had the theatrical cut in my brain, and seeing how it unfolds with him speaking, with no mask.
Hold on. Speaking, he says one word.
Still,
he says one word. He says die.
Again, I think this was in anger. I think Zombie was so fed up that he was like, that ending is like an FU to the franchise. He tries to end the franchise.
No, I don't. In fact, it's interesting. I was watching an interview with Danielle and Scout, and somebody asked them that and said, I think it was the guy, the moderator of this panel they were doing at one of these cons that they were at. and he asks them just that question. Do you think this was Rob just intentionally? And, their feeling was no. They don't believe that he would, do that on his own time and dime. I mean, it's his own time at least.
Well, and
Why would you do that?
also
It's your art.
there was so much cut,
Mhm.
based on the shooting schedule that I
Right.
don't think he got. And then there's the whole X-ray that we haven't talked about, right? Where the canisters of a lot of footage gets sent through the X-ray machine at the airport, ruins all the footage.
See, it's another thing. It was almost like it was cursed at a
It
certain
was
point,
cursed.
you know?
I kind of believe that.
Mhm. Yeah, but another thing was this whole mother angle, that Michael's mother, played by Sherry Moon Zombie, Rob's wife, and the white horse, right? This white
Right.
horse, this
That's
white horse.
always bothered me.
But again, and you heard this in the commentary of the unrated cut, and Rob says what a lot of people missed was right out of the gate. This
Right.
is the first thing you see on screen, which is this. It says white horse. And it goes on to say that's a symbol that represents, it can be linked to instinct, purity, the drive of the physical body. This is all legitimate stuff
Right.
out of the psychology books.
But fans have taken it to a whole new level of
Well,
what it
because
means.
I think
And
fans just don't like it for the
and the
most part.
reality, I didn't like it either. And I didn't like what he did with Michael's mother. Like, I know it's like his delusional mind. It's not her.
Correct.
That's really a delusion in Michael's mind. That's not his mother and him as a youngster, which
Correct.
they had to recast that actor because the
Yeah.
other one
So
grew up
yeah,
too much.
Dag, who played Michael, the young Michael in the first one, it was great.
Right.
He was just too big by the time they got around to doing the
Right.
second one, and so you've got, Chase Vanek here who I think he did a great job. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're gonna be faced with that problem, you could do worse, in
Oh,
terms of
definitely. No,
casting. He was
I didn't
really
have
good.
any problem
Yeah.
buying into the recast. I didn't have any problem with the cast.
No, I didn't either.
Um,
And I agree
but
with
that
you. This
let
this
me
isn't.
let
Yeah.
me fix that white horse thing for a second because in the
Mike's gonna clean it
commentary,
up for Rob.
no,
Here
I'm
here
gonna
you go,
say,
Rob. You're welcome.
no, Rob says in the commentary, he's driving to work one day, and this was shot in Georgia, which is a
Yeah.
huge escape from the first one of Pasadena.
Mhm.
And that gave him all sorts of weather issues and, no hills and all sorts of stuff. But he's driving to work, sees a white horse. It has an impression on him, so he puts it in the film. To me, that's not a great reason for
Mhm.
inserting that into a film, even with that paragraph you showed.
I'm not even gonna try to argue that point. I think that's a fair point. I do wanna give a shout out to Margot Kidder, who I loved in this film. I
And
thought
this was
she did
a comeback for her.
yeah, she did a great job as Laurie's therapist. And I just love seeing her in the film. I miss her. I loved her, of course, in the Superman films. And so it's always nice to see her. And I thought her and Scout had some really good chemistry, some very difficult scenes that the two of them are navigating
I think
together.
that is some of the best stuff in the
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's this whole focus on I mean, just look at Laurie's face here, right? This is all you need to know. This is uh oops, I got rid of it there. There she is. It's great makeup here, by the way, too. But how if you think of Laurie from the first film and then you see her here, you feel the trauma that she's been going through over the last couple of years. So, but you're making some good points about like that whole story angle, which people don't love. Um, but you mentioned Rob Zombie is a great director, Mike. He did. What's your favorite one or two sequences from this film? Actually, I'm kind of curious about that.
Well, the Margot Kidder stuff is right up
Oh,
there
okay,
with some
that's
of the
cool.
best stuff I think in the movie. I think
Yeah.
it's, it's grounded, it's believable.
Hmm.
Um, I think the acting performances are all good, and I think Zombie's directing is good. I just think it falls apart with the story, with so many character changes where they're just a
Mm.
180 from the person from Halloween 1. And we haven't seen that in any iteration other than
Again,
this one.
well, again, it's I think that is the point, as I keep saying, right? So that's why I don't have a problem with it, because I need a story now that is grounded in some realism as to, again, if you've gone through what they've gone through, what would you be like 2 years removed? You wouldn't be all hunky dory and back to your old self again. I mean,
But
this is,
Loomis is.
well, no, he's not. He has also transformed, right? He's a total douche now.
Right,
He's
right.
a total, so he's also suffering, you could argue, from his own sort of trauma is not the right word, but he's a douche. And so
And they
he's
also didn't know he was on board till like 12 hours before they started filming.
yeah,
So
and
there
that
was
doesn't
gonna have to be some major manipulation. I don't know what they
uh,
would have done.
right. You
But
know
there's
what was
also Uncle
yeah,
Lou from the first one, who we
you mean
just saw in
Lou Martini, you mean?
Lou
Big Lou?
Martini in
Played
this
by
one.
Daniel Roebuck, get shot, who is in almost every horror film you've probably ever
Well,
seen, right?
what was the first one we did?
What, horror film?
Yeah, no,
Oh,
this
Final
Halloween.
Destination. Oh, for
Yeah,
Halloween Fest.
he was in
Yes.
Final
That's
Destination.
right, and he was in Terrifier, we talked about,
He's
we
in
did
a
an
ton
episode
of
on Terrifier.
stuff.
He's in a ton of stuff, and you
But
mentioned he was in The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. I
that's
mean,
right.
he's got a legendary resume for
And you
sure.
said Lou Martini, they couldn't use that name. Somehow they
Ano
lost the rights to the name
to
of their
their
own
own characters.
character. That's on the
And
Weinsteins.
another thing you can't make up, right? And
No,
so they had to digitally remove that name
Martini,
from, right, at same there's scenes where Loomis is being interviewed by this
a
news
news.
reporter, and
Yeah,
it's action news. Well, they couldn't use action, so they had to read, and it just was 3 lines in the word news. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I'm glad you shouted out Daniel Roebuck. He's in now. The kills is something else I love about this film. Okay, there's a great sequence early in the film where dead body allegedly is being
right.
transported by
In a
ambulance
van.
by these 2 ambulance drivers. One played by Richard Brake. Can't think of the other guy's name. He was in Deadwood. Very, very great actor.
Yeah,
As is Richard Brake. He's a English actor who, again, Mike, they had to fly him back in from London to do some reshoots. What another nightmare for Rob
right,
Zombie on
right.
this. But there's this, I'm going to show a really brief clip that's part of this sequence when you realize that, oh, he's not dead. Big surprise, newsflash. But
Right.
this is one of the shots by Zombie that I absolutely love. It's just that slow motion
Menacing.
that is so eerie, and there's others in there,
He
and that's the
uses
thing.
slow motion like 3 times in the film
Yeah,
very effectively.
thank you, very effectively, because you could easily get that wrong, and I thought Rob did a great job with that. But that one, Octavia Spencer, who plays a nurse, there's always a great in a lot of these, right? There's a great scene with a nurse getting
Yeah, for some
bludgeoned to
reason, they're
death, and
always subject to death.
but Octavia Spencer, who has herself an amazing resume, she was in Hidden Figures and like tons of other shows and films. She plays a nurse in this that just suffers one of the most gruesome deaths. Her face basically gets split
And
in half.
the way Zombie
Oh,
unveils it
mm,
is very
really is.
subtle and then
Very
very
subtle.
brutal. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie's movies, for me, are hard to watch
Sure.
because they are so real
Sure.
and they are so vivid, and you're like, "I can believe that."
Which, that's why I think he's up there when you talk about masters of the genre. He really is.
Well, and that's the thing. He had that cachet coming into the film, and for the
Sure.
Weinsteins to be breathing down his neck
Mhm.
probably made for a
The
worse movie.
The Devil's Rejects. I mean, any of his films,
Night
try
of
to
a
get through
Thousand
those.
Corpses, those are tough to watch.
They're brutal, man. And there's plenty of others like that. There's another one. You mentioned the stripper sequence in the film. There's a scene where this stripper gets uh, basically murdered by slamming her into this vanity mirror on the
Right.
wall of the strip club. And it is, I mean, major kudos to the stunt woman who
Yeah.
doubles for that, because it is hard to watch. And again, the realism, like I can believe that's how that would probably go
Well,
if
given
that
the
happened in real life.
size of him,
He's
Tyler
enormous.
Mane, that
Well, and
he's
talk about Mike, the Geico caveman, Jeff Daniel Phillips. There's a
that's
sequence
right.
between him and Michael outside the strip bar. Can you talk about, do you remember the story here about this sequence
You
with the
know, I
stuntman?
don't. I remember him talking about liked him as the Geico caveman, and he's a big
Mhm.
guy. He's a
He
big
is a big
dude,
guy.
like
He's about
6'5",
6'4". Right, right. And
and
he
and Tyler Mane towers over him.
towers over him, right. And so the stuntman who doubles in this scene
Oh,
says to
right.
Tyler, "Hey, don't worry about it." Because there's just the sequence, he lifts him up, basically. He does a, what is that,
Like
Mike?
a
Who's the
wrestling
wrestler?
move.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, was it the Big Show? Is that what it would be?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
gives him the old slam
Body
down
slam, yeah.
on his back, and the stuntman's like, "Don't worry about it, go at me,
You
it's not
can't
gonna hurt
hurt me.
me." Right. Cut to, he hurts the guy. The guy did not expect what he got, and same for, there's a sequence where a female stunt woman, same thing, gets slammed down on a table in one sequence by Tyler, and and she said the same thing, "Don't worry
Right,
about it,"
right.
etc. And it's like, okay, do you know who you're dealing with here?
No, this guy and,
This guy,
in that vein, they build a
yeah.
shed, right? That was supposed to
Mhm.
be made out of balsa wood, which you or I could punch through and make
Great
it look
story.
like it was nothing. Well, they
Great
screw
story.
up. They don't tell Zombie. They don't tell Tyler Mane. They used real wood,
Yes.
and he still tears it apart.
He's still to, in fact, when he comes to kill Annie, the same thing. The prop
They
department didn't
screwed
get
up
the right
again.
notes. It's a
Yeah.
real oak door. Tyler Mane busts through the door. Well, at that point, he's just pissed off. And
Yeah.
so Rob says he literally just burst through the door because he was pissed off. It's incredible. I really liked the tension between Annie and Laurie in this sequel. I like what he did with their relationship. It was really, it was sad, and you think about it, it never gets resolved.
No.
Sadly, never gets
No,
resolved.
unfortunately, it doesn't. I think, again, the unrated takes it a little further than the
Yeah,
theatrical.
right.
And again, this is a situation where the first one, they were at Comic-Con, and I was at Comic-Con, but I couldn't get in to the
R-
hall that they were doing the
I
interview.
can't say how many times you've mentioned this on the
I know.
podcast. I think
It's
because
such a
you're so bitter.
I'm so mad. Well, I shouldn't be because I always got in free because
Yeah.
I was an educator and they used to have resume walls, and
Mhm.
I would hire people, at Comic-Con.
So
I
you're
would
really
interview 'em.
ungrateful. It's not bitter. You're ungrateful. That's what it is.
No, but my freebie didn't include, access.
Okay, so I need to talk to me about your thoughts on this great actor here, Brad Dourif.
Yeah, Brad Dourif, if you know Chucky, he's the voice. His daughter is now in the series, and she's great. He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Uh, just an awesome actor, and he's the one actor, even though there's changes in him, he feels a
Mhm.
lot of guilt because, and again, there's another issue, Angel Myers, who's that?
I didn't love it. It's fine. I'm not going to
Right,
argue
but
that either. Yeah, that's okay.
he he feels guilty about what
Mhm.
happened to Laurie because he knows the truth, which
Right.
again, the whole brother angle, when did that pop up? That wasn't in the original Carpenter film, that Michael and Laurie were brother and sister.
I think in the sequel is when
Was it the sequel?
we get that, the
But again,
Strodes, the
that was
whole,
like
yeah,
a point that everybody hated. Don't make
right.
them brother and sister. It's just stupid.
Well, I think that was originally okay. There's your motivation for why he continues to sort of relentlessly stalk and
Chase her
seek her
down.
out. Yeah, I think
Right.
that was really what you're getting
But
there.
his guilt,
Mhm.
Brad Dourif as Brackett, his guilt is all over his face. I mean,
Well,
great performance.
what's interesting about that is that's actually something that a lot of people don't like. A lot of people, when it comes to the sequence of his reaction, Mike, to his in the film his daughter Annie's death. Some people laugh when that scene
Wow.
comes up. I mean, it's still every time I see it, it makes me emotional. It gives me
Yeah.
goosebumps. It's one of the best pieces of acting that you could see. I think Brad Dourif does an amazing job.
And
So
I
I don't know
think
where that hate comes from, but
I don't either. I again, all the acting, and I gotta give
yeah.
a shout out to Scout, who
Mhm.
is, literally in, like, pajamas in the freezing cold while Zombie says if you could see the guys behind the camera, they're all bundled up in parkas,
Yes.
hoodies, and she was a trooper through this whole movie, the
Sh
screaming. I
Yes.
mean, I
She's in the hospital gown, the whole yeah,
can't tell
yeah,
you what kind of energy you have to exude to
yeah.
do that.
There was well, and just the heavy emotional scenes that she filmed. There were
Yeah,
so many sequences like that. Um, I do quick shout out, Mike, too, to the late great Howard Hessman, who we were talking about on our Spinal Tap
right.
episode. It's always nice. He's perfect in this film too. Not a big part, but it's a nice
And
part
he's
to
basically playing
see.
himself. That's who he
He
was.
basically is, yeah. Again, as always, we talk about the couple of rating scores here. IMDb has a Metascore of 35, Rotten Tomatoes, critics 25%, Mike, the audience 44%. Both, all of which I think are low, are very, very well. They're clearly low. I think they're too low, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
No, they're
This is way,
definitely
way higher for me, even despite the issues you've pointed out, the things that I pointed out. All in all, that was one of the main reasons behind doing this episode, at least for me, was to try to bring a little bit more positive
yeah,
attention to the film and what Rob Zombie, for those that haven't had access to the commentary, what he had to go through to try to even get this film completed.
how did they get him to do a commentary?
I
They
don't
must have
know.
said to him, "We'll let you say whatever you want," because
Right.
he doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't. And in the interview he does with Howie Mandel, it's the same thing. I mean, this is just like in the last year or two, I think. And he recounts the whole story over and over again. Very detailed, doesn't pull any punches with how he feels about it. And
And again, I
we all
said
know where the Weinsteins have ended up. So that's we won't go
yeah,
there.
and as
But
I said in the commentary, miserable, terrible,
Mhm.
brutal, those are used over and over by
Over
him
and over.
talking about the filming of this.
One last thing I want to mention before we wrap on this, Mike, is something that I had more appreciation for this time around watching it that I don't think I was as tuned into in previous viewings is what Rob does with how he uses different techniques and things to represent the dream state of Laurie early in the film, right? There's this whole chunk that, if you're not paying attention, you sort of get lost and you don't know, is this real? Is that the dream?
Right.
Where does the dream start and where does it end? And he does, for example, she's not in the dream sequence yet, right? She is lying in the hospital bed and there's a nurse that's kind of standing watch with her in the room, right? There's earlier, there's some sequences of her and this teddy bear that she calls Buddy Bear,
Which is the
right?
same name as the security guard that
That
tries
you
to
mentioned,
protect her.
right? She's hiding in this guard shack you
Yeah,
talked about where and the character is Buddy. She keeps saying Buddy, and this. So those, right? The way that you would take something from your conscious state and
right.
bring it into your dream state. That's pretty brilliant the way he
Yeah,
did that. And I just
yeah.
don't think I ever really picked up on it as vividly as I did this time. So
Yeah,
the
having
greatness of
not
Rob
seen this
Zombie.
for a while, and I'll tell you this, as negative as I was,
Mhm.
I'm still waiting for the 4K, which I will buy because we
Yeah.
have every other one except for, and that's maybe because a zombie won't,
Will he not sign
sign
off on
off.
it?
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
But
know.
but but would he have to, I wonder? Wouldn't that just be
I don't
something
know.
where
I
the
think
the
doesn't Blumhouse, Jason Blum, doesn't he own the rights?
does he? I don't know that that's
I thought
true.
he had the Halloween rights all locked up.
Oh, I don't know, but I mean, you still got Akkad's kid in the mix, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's still in the mix, definitely.
Right. Well, listen, just beyond the 15th anniversary of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, we thought it was kind of fitting to talk about it for that, but also for the reason that it has not been the most well-received film in the Halloween film franchise. So casting a little light on it, but clearly you can see there's a
Yeah.
lively debate here where and again, as I said at the top, I'm not sitting here claiming this is a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, but I also don't think Rob Zombie is claiming it to be the film that he
No,
originally intended to put out.
no,
So
no.
I would have loved to get a third film from him to see what he could have done with that.
Although how, after the unrated cut,
Well,
how
that's
does
true.
that happen?
That's
It
true.
would have
But
to go back in the timeline.
well, but again, the theatrical cut is really what would stand, right? That's what you could base
Well,
it
you
off of.
say that, but as you said at the beginning of it, it didn't do
Most
great
people
at the
had the
box
unrated,
office.
yeah.
It did
Yeah.
half of what the first one did,
Mm,
and this is only 2 years removed,
yeah.
and, the unrated cut is what probably most people saw.
But what he did with this story, and again, something you had some trouble with, turning the characters on their head. If you think about the original sequel, right?
Mhm.
We go from that into Season of the Witch, Halloween 3, with
Right,
no Michael. And so, and then it would be not until H2O that we would get Laurie back and write that whole story in
right.
H2O, which was great. And
And
please
again,
go back
wasn't
and
that, "Hey, ignore 3 through 6."
yeah, which
I think there
we
was some
love.
of that going
We
on.
certainly love 4 and 5, but it had me thinking, couldn't you see that that's maybe where logically the next film might have been Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie in a similar state,
Yeah.
right? In fact,
Well,
isn't that
she
how?
is in 2018, right? She's got
Well,
it starts off with
that's
her
right.
shooting a shotgun.
That's exactly right. Great point. And that's why I think this almost the Halloween one from Rob Zombie is literally a retelling for the most part. At least the first half is a retelling of the original film.
Yeah.
Uh, but his sequel, yeah, it's really not entirely original, right? Because as you say, in H2O, Laurie's definitely suffering PTSD. She's hiding
Right.
out basically in Oregon or wherever they are, right?
And then in
And
2018, she's literally got a safe room, a panic room
yes, living
built
out in the
into her
woods,
house.
middle of nowhere. She's got
Yeah.
this like shooting gallery thing that she trains on out in the yard and all that stuff. So I don't know. So I again still a big fan. Mike, what other iterations do you have of the films? Did you hold up something else we didn't?
Um, I have yeah, like, I have one that isn't even labeled. I don't know
Okay, I don't.
why,
That's it. Yeah, I don't have
but
that.
I have the box set,
Right.
that came with all of the films,
Yeah.
and I've kinda like, that's how I get to this, where I kinda I take one disc and I put it in with another disc just to
I,
save space.
I apologize. I did not commend you on the poster trilogy that I see behind you
That's
now,
right.
which is all Halloween film. I mean,
All
that
Halloween.
is you need to leave that up for the entire Halloween fest. That's
Yeah, maybe I
fantastic.
will.
I love that. Now, see, it's cool because I think the first and the third are both from Halloween 2, and the middle is the original Carpenter poster. But
Well, the way I see it, this is Zombies 2, and this is the original 2.
oh, I see. I see. I say it's hard to see that other one on the left there. You notice I've got the 2018
Yeah,
version
you got the
up behind
2018,
me.
which I liked.
So, and then I have
I mean,
my
we're fan of all of the
yeah, I
movies.
have my 10-inch Michael Myers that's signed by many of the female stars of the Halloween franchise,
Right.
including Danielle Harris, Scout Taylor Compton, and Annie Matichak, and others. You see my other, I got my other Michael Myers down here. And
Oh,
then one thing, Mike, I didn't point out to you in the O Brother Studios here, at Studios 8H here, is you can't, it's hard to tell, but this is a wine bottle, Mike, celebrating Jaws' 50th anniversary.
oh, I
It's got a
can't
little
make it out.
Halloween kind of covering on top of it, but this is it. Yeah. So, anyways,
I can see the jaws now at the bottom of it.
yeah, it's got the Jaws label on it. It's a bottle of wine I probably never cracked the seal on because it's a nice collector's edition. But Anyways, all right, Mike, Rob Zombie Halloween 2. I think that's about all we can say about this film.
Was said a lot too.
Yeah, for those of you that have seen the film, let us know. Are you fans of the film? Are you critics of the film? Like, where do you stand? Are you more in Mike's camp, a little bit more critical, or more favorable, and a little bit more maybe in my camp on this one? Please drop some comments on the YouTube video. Let us know your thoughts. If you're listening, you can also go to the audio podcast show notes and click send us an email. There's a link right there that you can send us some messages and communicate with us that way. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. It's at Mike Oh Brother Podcast. So here's the YouTube handle, folks, for those wondering. It's all spelled out at OH B as in brother podcast.
And if you don't see our ugly mugs come up, then you're on the wrong channel.
You're on the wrong channel. Now, you can follow us on Instagram as well, at OHB as in brother podcast. Very active out there as well. Appreciate all the support we continue to get. A lot of engagement, a lot of comments. We love that, whether they're critical or they're not. Or one actually, Mike, just called you a grouch.
Really?
Day. Yeah, it was pretty apt. I haven't had a chance to respond and defend you, but this was a comment on our K-pop episode. And it says,
wow.
Where is it here? It says
they were just on SNL last week.
What a grump. It says, what a grump is such a perfect description for Mike. So they're commenting on me calling you a grump in the episode.
Yeah.
This is from Sam, who left us a comment. Thanks for engaging with us there, Sam. But anyways, there you go, folks. It's another Halloween Fest episode in the books, Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie. It's going to do it, Mike, but Halloween Fest rolls on. But that's another episode of the Oh Brother Podcast. I've been your host, Stan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And you know that we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.